So this is my first finished sketchbook since I've been back painting. The cover is something that I made using a Jonathan Van Ness self-care class a long time ago. I actually have a video about it. But I'm feeling super, super proud of finishing up this guy because I really like my sketchbook to be a place for me to explore and make mistakes and be imperfect and kind of just collect images from my brain and practice. It's really like a non-stressful place for me, and I've kind of developed this attitude about my sketchbooks that it's a place that's just for me to make whatever I want to make and to explore whatever I want to explore and not have any expectations of myself. So this is a Canson mixed media sketchbook. I'll put right there, I'll put a photo of what the actual cover looks like because this is obviously decoupaged up. I feel like it's like a 7x10, so it's not super big. I like it being fairly portable so I can bring it with me wherever I am. It's mixed media, so the paper is meant for both wet and dry mediums, and it does warp a little bit. Some people ask me how I keep my sketchbook from warping. I don't. It still warps, but it's not that bad, and it really doesn't bother me that much. It kind of contributes to the like used artistic kind of feel, so I really like it. I've also used watercolor paper, but the mixed media paper is really nice too, and it mixed media sketchbooks usually have more pages in them because the paper isn't quite as thick. So let's get to exploring what's in this guy. So this is actually a little sketchbook page that I did before any of the other pages in this book because I actually did this cover. I did one page in the sketchbook and then I went on my hiatus and like hadn't used it in forever. So this page, well, the sketch of this page was done a long time ago, I think last summer, so a year ago. And it was a couple plein air sketches of this really beautiful lake I was at when I was camping in Michigan. And so I took those sketches, there were two right next to each other, and I decided to kind of paint one in. I'm not necessarily in love with this painting, but it was really nice for me to get back into it using that as like a little jumping off point. And so this page was the first page that I'd actually painted from the ground up. I did a little sketch of, and then I did the painting of. It's actually based on a reference photo that I took a couple summers ago of some water. When I painted it, I was very much like, yeah, I haven't painted in a long time and this is not great. But now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, I really like this. I like its kind of sketchiness and almost abstractness. I really like the color push that I did. This page I was like, okay, I want to make something purposely pretty. This one was like sketchy, all over the place. This page I kind of want to make a little more regimented. And so I took 3 different color palettes and I made 3 different, slightly different images all on one page because it just looks, those colors look really beautiful together. I love this orange, this dark blue, and this kind of green. So I was actually just kind of sketching them out of my brain, the images, and then picking cool color palettes to go on top of them, which is a really fun way to paint. Oh, this one was really great too. I love this tropical beach scene here. I was really happy with how my little palm tree turned out. I was really happy with the subtleties I was able to get, especially in the gradient of the sky. Oh, everything so far has been in acrylics too. I've only been using acrylic paint so far. I really love using acrylic paints in my sketchbook. This was another like from memory, imagination kind of painting that actually later on I kind of redo it. But this was a really fun, really easy, simple, kind of relaxing painting to do. I wasn't thinking too much about it. I was just painting away. Oh, here's another one I love. See again, the vibrancy. I love those vibrant colors. This was from a reference photo I took of actually when I started moving out to the Midwest. I took this photo on my way. It's messy, it's sketchy, and down here this foliage is a little bit darker than I would really like it to be, but I like it that I kind of am able to reflect on my paintings in my sketchbook and be like, maybe I'll do this next time. Oh yeah, here's, see, this is when I'm like, I can do whatever I want in my sketchbooks. This doesn't have to be perfect. I did a fish. I made this, oh, again, with that reflective water shining on the sand, I did this image of like a coral kind of reef, coral reef. Put a little baby sea star in there. I drew in a couple fishies swimming around. I felt inspired to do something a little bit different, and so I just drew a fish. And it's acrylic, and you can see colored pencils. Oh, here's another imagination one I did. I love the paintings and images where you can see the distance of a river just slowly curving towards you, and you can really feel the depth. And when I made the sky, it was kind of bland, I think, at first, and I wanted to do something that pulled me in, was actually more of the focal point of the painting. And so you have this kind of surreal effect of light coming from the back and getting darker, and these clouds are like impossibly huge over these mountains, and then a little moon. This is some more cloud practice. This one I actually used a reference photo for that I changed almost entirely the colors of. And then this one was another just out of my imagination cloud. I wanted a lot of like dynamic angling motion, since that's what was happening here, and I used that as inspiration for like a second piece. I did this one first and was like, ooh, I like that. I'm gonna keep pushing that and try it again in a different piece, and did another one right next to it. I love, love, love this one. I spent a lot of time on this one, really, really focusing on the color. This was a painting color-wise that I was like, wow, I'm really developing as an artist and as somebody who's really proud of the work that they're doing. This was a page too where I almost felt guilty leaving, because I'm like, it's not done, but I was like, it's a sketchbook. It doesn't have to be finished every time. I had this concept of having some wavy lines going within a desert landscape. And so I drew out these little thumbnails of different compositions of what that might look like. And this ended up being the bigger one after I made that, where I was like, I think I like this composition best. And then I created a little color palette of colors that I'd like to see in the painting. And then when I went to paint it, I think I had like stuff going on, or like I wasn't able to like finish it. So I left it as is after just throwing some color on there and not pushing the painting very far, because whatever was going on, I didn't have time to finish it. And when I came back, I didn't want to finish it. And I was like, I don't have to. And I just moved on. Oh, here's another little imagination painting. I really loved the like symmetrical composition here, and the little sand areas. Previous to this sketchbook, I haven't done a lot of landscape painting, like of actual land. I've done clouds and I've done water, but when it comes to things that are green and that grow on the ground, I've been a little bit nervous to paint them, because I get overwhelmed by the detail in grass and trees and things like that. But all of a sudden, I feel like I started to be able to compartmentalize landscapes a lot better and figure out how to give the illusion of that detail. And then this guy, because I did this guy, I was like, oh, that went really well. Let me try another landscape painting. And I did this and challenged myself to paint flowers, which I've almost never done until the last couple months, and I was obsessed. This might be my absolute favorite page in this whole sketchbook. This is a really, really quick guy. I just felt like I wanted to throw some vibrant colors on my page, put some sparkles in, and it honestly did not take me very long at all. This was one too that I did not love. I don't love the details on this one. I was not happy with how the details turned out, but I was really, really happy with the color choices I made here. Ooh, I like this one. I did this painting and I had all this space, and previously in pages, I had used open space to make similar paintings on the same page. But for whatever reason, I wasn't feeling like doing another painting on this page, but I wanted to use the paper. So I sketched out a composition I had in mind for a painting. I think I actually might have used a reference photo on Pinterest to come up with this composition and compile these clouds together. Oh, here we go. So this is the first painting that I painted, being like, okay, I need to come up with a tutorial idea that's gonna be pretty simple. Oh, this is pretty. I wanted to do some like rainbow, so I did red, orange, yellowish, green, blue, and back to purple with this teal wave. Oh, here's some more attempts at me doing a landscape. I really love how these mountains turned out. I was really happy with the color. I don't think I used a reference photo. I think maybe I used a reference photo for these mountains, but I think the rest of this composition I just made out of my brain. And this is a very quick, I wanted to see how quickly I could get a little mountain scene up with more of that flower practice. I've gotten a lot better at painting flowers since this painting. It's really nice to look back and see that too. Oh, here's another tutorial painting. I want to do some water, I want to do a wave, but I want it to be really loose and not so deliberate. I love that like paint splattery effect. That's very fun. I want to add that into more stuff. It just works perfect on waves. This one I did a recreation of this painting that was in an old sketchbook of mine that I liked the painting in the old sketchbook, but I knew that I could develop it further. And so I remade it here. And then when I had all this empty space, I was feeling a little distracted, a little silly, wanting to do something light and playful that made me happy. And I just threw a rainbow on there. Oh, here we go. So these are very sketchy. This was my first attempt at gouache in a very, very, very long time. I'd used gouache like maybe once or twice before previously, and I just wanted to experiment with all the different colors. Oh, here's another one that turned into a tutorial. Love this guy. Love the composition I did. Again, this is another attempt I did at flowers that I was super proud of. Oh, here's another little gouache piece. Got the reflections of these trees and these little lily pads. This is also gouache, I believe. Oh, I was sick. I did a vlog where I was sick and I wanted to practice some trees again. These were both also in gouache. Here's some more from when I was sick. These are also gouache paintings. This was me experimenting with the red because I hadn't used it very much yet, and it was so beautiful and vibrant. And these little baby kitty cats, I have a little ruler that has little kitty cat stencils on them, and I hadn't used them yet, so I put a couple of those little kitty cats on there too. Oh yeah, this page I was looking to figure out how to do a more complex acrylic sunset tutorial with water. And I painted both of these slightly differently with slightly different methods and slightly different colors. And I loved them both, but I couldn't quite figure out how I wanted to teach these guys. But if you'd like a tutorial on these complex sunsets with the sand in the front and the little waves and the sparkles, let me know in the comments. If there any of these paintings are something that you would like to learn how to paint, let me know in the comments because I can absolutely do tutorials for any of these. This is a repaint of a previous painting, but the painting I had originally done was really beautiful and I loved the colors, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to paint on this day, but I knew I wanted to do something. I just need a little momentum to get into painting, so I decided to do a quick repaint of an old painting I did. And then this is the painting I did after that. That ended up being a painting that I made a tutorial out of. There's another one that became a tutorial that I love. This is one again that I like the sketchbook version better, I think, than my actual finished tutorial painting, but that seems to be a pattern for me. And another one, all these guys are tutorials. This is the one that was a repaint. This one I was not looking at any reference photo, and this one I was. So I wanted to do something similar. I wanted to use what I'd learned from that first one and pull it into this one, but take my time a little bit more. Ooh, okay. Got some more cactuses, and this is actually another one of my favorites. Look at this. So I did this. Cute, simple, little sunset desert scene, and then I did this. That is a little UFO with a little alien in it shooting sparkle beams down on this cactus. This took me no time at all. I remember just like flying through this and just having it down on paper as soon as it came into my head. And now I can take this and really develop it and maybe do a more serious painting later. Oh yeah, here's one. I was just feeling silly. I knew I wanted to paint something. I wasn't sure what I was doing. I wanted to try less pastel colors and more vibrant colors. And then I don't know what I was doing, but I just felt really doodly. Very interesting, very non-traditional for my normal sketchbook pages, but it's something that I love looking at and I had a really wonderful time making. Now here's another one that's just like a whatever, not a masterpiece page. I did this quick little sunset. When I'd made it, I was like, I made these colors darker than I want them to be. I definitely want more light, and I thought about trying to repaint it here. For whatever reason, I wasn't that into it, and I needed to make a shopping supplies list. This is just some practice making small waves here. I made this one originally. I wanted to work a little bit more on those dark parts of the waves with the highlights on top. This is obviously a subject matter that I love and that I paint a lot. I really like how the sky turned out. You can see all the little brush strokes as I moved down. I thought that looked really neat. Oh, here's some more water practice from the same thing. I was like, I need more practice here. Usually I paint water with my oil paints because I can get lots of blending effects there, but it's great to practice with different mediums, and I wanted to get some contrast going on here. I wanted to try it with no sparkles, when normally I just want to put sparkles on everything. I never paint flowers, but because I'd done some flower painting earlier in the sketchbook, I'd done this fenced in fields with these big pink clouds, and I had all this space left over, just like I'd had on that fish page. And I was like, why don't I try some flowers? I never paint flowers. It was really fun. I love how the colors turned out. It made me want to try painting more flowers in the future. Here's a couple quick little landscapes. I went a little too vibrant on the colors here, so I corrected that and went more muted here. I like the vibrancy here, but I was going for more realism in this page. Oh yeah, this is one that's not normal for me too, and definitely was pushing my comfort zone. I love paintings and images of water and rocks. There's something that I'm really drawn to about those kind of paintings. I've always been like creeks and things like that. Ever since I was a kid, I've been super obsessed with them. And so I decided to challenge myself to make a much more muted brown painting. This is another quick little cloud. I don't think I looked at a reference photo for this one either. I think I just pulled this out of my brain. I love these kinds of paintings. Are super easy and meditative for me. Love doing them just when I'm like, I don't know what to paint. I'm gonna draw a cloud. I love this page. I love these colors. There's a little sunset I have here. I wanted to have these clouds really reflecting the light of that sun in the background, and put the silhouettes of these palm trees in the front. And then, because I had all this space and I loved drawing these palm trees, I made some more. This is one I'm actually thinking about doing a tutorial for. I started painting this. I loved the mountains. I put in these little pine trees, and when I got to the grass in the field, I realized that I was really missing California. That's where I'm from, that's where I was raised. And so I put in these California poppies in there. So here's a page where I was once again practicing. Do not love how it turned out, but not every page is gonna be a masterpiece. Oh, this one was fun though. This is a reference photo from Pinterest too. It's got like a galaxy of stars, a little Milky Way. It's got a lot of black in it too. Most of my paintings don't have a lot of black in it. Ooh, this one I had sketched out some cloud shapes from a reference photo, and I decided to, because the colors of this reference photo I was looking at were again out of my comfort zone, I made this guy and I was really happy with how it turned out. Here's another silly one. Just some pink clouds, feeling doodly with some hearts, and maybe I was talking on the phone. Oh, these are a couple more gouache paintings, so I hadn't used the gouache paints in a while because they were hard and I was overwhelmed, and so I decided to break them out, and I put down some burnt sienna squares so I can paint on top of them. And I started with this guy, really simple composition I'm very familiar with, went to this guy, and then I grabbed a couple flowers out of my yard and did some studies of some violets that were growing in my yard and the violet leaves. And I did a little dandelion, and then this one, it was starting to get dark outside, so I did not finish it. But this is a really interesting page for me. This is when I started to push my gouache ability a little bit. I think this one was like, oh, I think I'm starting to understand gouache paint a little bit more. And it gave me the confidence to keep working on it. This one's not gouache, this one's acrylic. And again, not my normal subject matter. I did some burnt sienna underneath that you can see coming through. This was a very fun piece for me to do. These are gouache paintings. These are not acrylics like the rest of the paintings in the sketchbook are, well, most of the rest of the paintings. These are actually done with gouaches, and it's kind of the first time I've really taken a serious spin, like a serious attempt at my gouache paints, and it turned out really, really beautiful. I was really proud of how these waves turned out with these gouaches. And it kind of gave me a confidence to keep working with my gouache paints. And these are also gouache, but this was also, I'm tired, I'm being silly. Here's some rainbows. Here's some sparkles. Oh, this is another gouache piece with really muted colors. And I really love how this turned out. I also got this little fuzzy little dandelions that are just about to blow in the breeze. And so for the last page, I was starting to feel like, I was like, okay, I know there's only 2 pages left. I finished this one, I was like, what's my last page gonna be? It needs to be something good. Like, I want it to look really nice. And I was like, why does it need to be good? Why do I have to put that pressure on myself for it to be good? So instead, I went silly again, and I just took a bunch of colors and did a little spacing that's abstract and loose and fun, because I was putting this weird pressure on myself to make this last page beautiful. I like kept putting off painting on the last page because I wanted it to be perfect, and I was like, what? Why? Why do I need to do that? So instead I did the opposite and went a little crazy and did something really fun and vibrant. And I honestly love it. I think it's so fun looking. And that is the final page. My whole sketchbook. I would love to hear your thoughts on what you do in your sketchbook. I would love to know if there's anything in this sketchbook that you would like to see me do a tutorial of. Please let me know in the comments below. I actually put the numbers of the pages up here so that you can reference them if there's anything that you would like me to paint or comment on. I'd love to know what your favorite page in this is. I think mine, there's my favorite page. Love this page. So I hope that this gives you a little bit of inspiration for you to finish your own sketchbook, to not get so caught up in your head about making your sketchbook perfect, and to really embrace it as a place for you to just be you and make things that you want for you. It's about you. This sketchbook is a reflection of me, and I don't need it to be anything past that. And I'm imperfect, and that's fine and beautiful. So that is that. I'm excited to get started on a new sketchbook, and I'll see you in the next video.